Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I wanted to sit down and talk about Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer today because, let's face it, over the first season of MW2 MP and even the launch, area and time period of it, it's been on and off. It launched with a ton of hype. I mean, that sort of speaks for itself. The game broke every single Call of Duty sales record like ever. It sold tons and tons and tons in the first 3 days, and then the first week, and then the first month, and then the first quarter, right? So everyone was ready to play MW2 and get back to a modern era Call of Duty. It's got the name MW2, so of course it's going to be calling back to the OG, one of the best Call of Duty's and most popular CODs ever. And so far, I think it's safe to say that it hasn't met all the expectations. There are certain pros and certain cons of MW2 MP that are very apparent. I think the camo grind is great. I, for one, think the weapon leveling system is all right because, one, it does force some diversity, and it doesn't make the grind as monotonous as leveling up the same gun to 70 levels like in previous titles, but there's still a lot going on with it that players are not huge fans of, whether it's the skill-based matchmaking, the lack of content, this, that, whatever else. Now, about a month ago, we got word that Season 2 was going to be delayed because they were making so many changes based on community feedback, and that the launch of Season 2 would bring in a lot of much needed updates and really rejuvenate things and refresh things. And earlier on this week, we got the reveal finally for Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. It's kind of weird because Warzone got its own special day of reveals and attention because of Resurgence. DMZ got its own day of reveals and attention because of its certain changes. We've had very little up until this past week in regards to multiplayer updates. They gave us some brief rundowns. There would be audio updates, there would be weapon tuning, but not much in the way of, major changes, content improvements, stuff like that. Whereas Warzone 2 and DMZ, we're seeing loads of big improvements, all based around community feedback and very welcomed changes. It seemed like, based on all the feedback that I saw and responses that I saw in the comments here or over on Twitter, whatever the case may be. And then we finally got the reveal this past week with the roadmap and with the blog posts, and boy, it seems like Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer just is not getting any attention. That said, it's still getting a lot of content, but that content in and of itself seems to be a lot more lackluster than I think a lot of us had hoped, considering the season was delayed to help improve it at launch and to really, spike a resurgence, no pun intended, back into the game. And I don't think that the reveals so far have done that, unfortunately. Maybe things will change next week when we get the actual title update itself and we got all the patch notes for it. And maybe within the patch notes, they make some really cool changes. Maybe completely out of the blue, they update the movement or they do something else that can really freshen up gameplay. But when we look at the roadmap here, Modern Warfare 2 has its section, and it seems like there's a lot there, although it's also half coming in the Reloaded update sometime in the middle of March when it comes to the modes and stuff. But the content that we have at hand here, ranked play. Frankly, I'm very excited for ranked play. I'm looking forward to trying it out. We're going to have like a whole reveal blog for the rewards and whatnot coming with that, and Treyarch's manning it, so I think that's going to be cool. But admittedly, I think that this far along into Call of Duty's releasing every single year, League player ranked play is something that should happen at launch. We're getting this 2 seasons into launch. I feel like that's well overdue at this point, so I'm not like super thrilled that it's a part of a Season 2 update and not a launch update. But whatever, at least with ranked play, you can say this is a full-on new feature to this game. You can't necessarily say that about basically everything else coming, though. The raid, that's going to be cool. That's sort of its own separate thing, though, for Spec Ops. It's not truly multiplayer like everything else is listed here. The maps. This is what I'm not going to lie, I'm the most disappointed in. I was already expecting disappointment. It's like the one quote from Spider-Man, expect disappointment and you will never be disappointed. That's kind of how I was going into this, but I'm still bummed that of our map selection here, it's not new. There's nothing new here about it. You would think that with the seasonal updates and how we've had so many content packs year over year over year throughout all of Call of Duty, they would continue to improve the unique content, but we're just going backwards now. Dome, it's a remake. We had Dome back in MW3. We just had Dome last year with Vanguard. So we're already getting that again. And not to mention, Dome's already in the game within Al Mazrah at the top of Observatory, which also, hey, we have expanded Dome as a battle map and a ground war map and an invasion map also coming with this seasonal launch here. So that's like 1.5 maps as an update. So we've got Zaya Observatory, which is the entire top of the mountain, basically, with the different observatory towers, the middle like sort of stronghold-like building, and the Dome area as well. So you can choose to play Dome Expanded or Dome 6v6. So not really all that new in that sense. Then you've got Museum, which they're saying is now returning from the beta, which is a cheesy way to put it because it's now returning because they solved their legal issues with this map because they didn't get enough permission beforehand. For what it's worth, Museum will feel new to most players on MW2 because it's just simple facts. Less players played the beta than the full-on multiplayer launch, so most people didn't get to experience Museum, but I still find that to be kind of lazy, right? Like, it's weird that they're bringing back a map that was already in the game earlier on this, content year, if you will. And then we have the International Airport map as another ground war map. And I will say, I'm glad that we're getting new ground war maps. It's my favorite mode in multiplayer. And even though like back in MW 2019, we had ground war maps that were always being reused from Verdansk, it was still fun to play those. I don't have a huge problem with that. It's the fact that it's stacking on top of other content not being new, in a sense, still not being new, because it's just the terminal part in the airport expanded from Al Mazrah, which we already have in Warzone 2 and DMZ. So it's just content being reused from other aspects of the game being pushed as new seasonal content. So that approach to it, I won't lie, lackluster and disappointing. The modes, again, I'm excited to play these, but I don't feel like these are modes that were not capable of being there at launch. Infected, we've seen numerous times. Gun game's about as standard as it gets. Grind is kind of newer, but the same thing applies. And then in season with the Reloaded update, we're going to get Drop Zone and All or Nothing and One in the Chamber. And here, like again, I said, I'm excited to play these modes. They're all fun modes. I feel like they're pretty standard for COD though. And with the way that they've approached the playlist cycles so far here in MW2, the new modes are like there for a week and then they're gone for 2 and then they're back again. So like, who knows if these are going to be consistent, if we're going to have the option to quick play filter these, if there's going to be a party game mode at one point or a party game mosh pit, if you will. We just don't know the consistency of if the modes are going to be there or not. I think one of the parts that has me the most frustrated, if you will, with season 2 here in multiplayer and why I really wanted to talk about this video in general is that this update was delayed under the premise of it's going to bring back a lot of, quote unquote saving opportunities. It's going to be the make or break update. So you expect big things in a sense of that. This is what's going to potentially either seal the deal for players saying, yeah, this game just is not for me. I'm not enjoying how they're approaching it, or hey, they're finally starting to act on what we want. I'm going to stick around and see what else gets changed. And it's not looking like it is the latter there, unfortunately. And pre-launch, this is what Activision said. Post-launch of MW2 is going to have an unprecedented level of support. So when is that going to start? Because it hasn't started so far. And we're 2 seasons in. We're almost 5 months into the game launching, right? So through November, through December, through January, now into February, going into March, unless we get a season 2 Reloaded roadmap that has a bunch of surprise content on it, we haven't seen a new map for multiplayer yet. It's all reused from other assets of the game, whether it be Warzone or DMZ, or it's remastered maps from older Call of Duties, including stuff that we just had the past couple of years as well. So there's just not much original content coming here. And when you have a game titled Modern Warfare 2, you think that maybe we would be going after some of the old MW2 stuff, build on that nostalgia hype. I mean, we have Afghan dropping in Warzone as a new POI, and we don't have Afghan dropping as a map in multiplayer because apparently that's going to be saved for a pay-to-play expansion pack. It seems so backwards to me, kind of. And so multiplayer, again, seems like it just is at a level 0 or a 0.5 out of 10 in terms of the attention that it is getting. Whereas Warzone and DMZ, which don't get me wrong, I love both of them. I honestly enjoy Warzone the most out of everything here. DMZ shortly, following that, but they get so much attention, and it's because they're free to play. And it's because they have the larger audience, but we all paid to play multiplayer, $70, $100. And so far it's received very minimal content updates, very minimal gameplay updates, which is disappointing. So, we're going to have to wait and see what happens with the Season 2 update and the actual patch notes. I'm going to be covering them right as they drop. So, of course, make sure you're subscribed with those noties turned on. Not every single video is sort of ranting like this. But when they announced the delay, I was really thinking, man, maybe they're going to really go all in on multiplayer here too. And because they're talking about so much about, basing the updates around community feedback, they'd hear that we want more unique content. We want a content overload in multiplayer because really we're in such a major content drought this year. And that, so far, I don't feel like has been super followed through on, at least on the multiplayer side of things. Warzone and DMZ, I think, are headed in the right directions. But MP, the paid experience, really feels like we just paid a bunch of money to get some camos done quicker and to level our guns a bit quicker. And I think that's a cheesy way to sell a full product like this. So I'm hopeful that it'll eventually become the multiplayer product that we want it to be. I'm optimistic that it's going to get there. I just don't know what's taken so long, why it's taken this long to start to see more significant content updates. Like, at least this season, it does have a lot of content. It's just not the most exciting content or the most unique or new content, which maybe it is what it is. We'll have to wait and see what happens again. And, you know, going forward to future updates, maybe the Reloaded update is full of surprises. Maybe season 3 is that new, just super significant multiplayer update, because a lot of focus is on Resurgence here. And obviously that's their free-to-play target demographic. So maybe that's going to just overshadow everything. And I wouldn't be surprised at that, because they are just going for the business at the end of the day. And Warzone is their best business decision, right? So that's, I guess, kind of how the cookie crumbles, if you will. But that's going to wrap things up. Just wanted to talk a little bit about how I'm disappointed for multiplayer. Again, hopefully that'll change in the future. We can have more positive energy into MP videos. But that said, that is going to wrap things up for this video. If you guys enjoyed, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you're up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.